What if the key to modern attraction wasn't something we've yet to discover, but something we've forgotten? The ancient Romans, often remembered for their power and empire, also possessed a remarkably sophisticated understanding of love, desire, and human connection. Beneath their marble statues and grand arenas was a culture pulsing with sensual intelligence, one that saw attraction not as a mystery, but as an art form. And what they understood about it might just transform the way you see relationships today. I'm David, and in this story, we're traveling beyond the ruins to rediscover the romantic wisdom the Romans lived by. Let's start in the heart of ancient Rome, not in the Senate or the battlefield, but in the private courtyards and candlelit banquets where intimacy was quietly engineered. Romans believed attraction began long before physical touch. It started with presence, with how you entered a room, with how your voice lingered in conversation. They mastered the unspoken, the subtle art of energy, timing, and allure. Unlike today's obsession with instant gratification, Romans prized anticipation. They understood that the desire for something just out of reach was far more powerful than anything immediately accessible. Lovers would exchange glances across the atrium, share cryptic messages in poetry, or meet in passing under moonlight. Moments designed to build tension, not resolve it. But what unfolded next was truly unexpected. Because even in the sensual world of Roman romance, it wasn't physical beauty that held the highest currency. It was wit. Flirting, for the Romans, was an intellectual sport. In fact, being clever was often considered more seductive than appearance alone. A well-crafted joke or a perfectly timed double meaning could stir more desire than the most revealing tunic. In this, attraction was a form of mental dance, where mystery, intellect, and confidence mingled in elegant disguise. And here's the intriguing part most people miss. The Romans didn't separate sensuality from daily life. They integrated it. It wasn't reserved for private bedrooms or whispered secrets. It was everywhere, in how they dined, how they dressed, how they debated philosophy. Sensuality to them was a way of being, subtle, expressive, and unapologetically human. Have you ever met someone who radiates presence, not through loudness, but through calm confidence? The Romans believed this was one of the most attractive qualities a person could possess, and they cultivated it deliberately. Through posture, eye contact, even the way they listened. But their wisdom went deeper. In Roman society, romance was often rooted in roles, not fixed identities, but dynamic energies. A relationship, they believed, was a living exchange between two forces. One might lead with boldness, while the other softened with charm. But these roles could shift and evolve. The healthiest connections weren't built on domination or submission, but on fluid balance. That's a concept modern couples still struggle to master. Yet the real secret to this mystery lies elsewhere. The Romans understood that attraction without meaning faded quickly. This is why many Roman love stories revolved around shared values: honor, courage, intellect, freedom. Passion mattered, but purpose mattered more. That's why affairs of the heart often reflected deeper philosophies of life. Take, for example, the mythic lovers in Roman poetry, figures who weren't idealized for their looks, but for their commitment to love as a cause, a calling, even a rebellion. Attraction in Roman thought wasn't just about who you wanted, it was about what you stood for together. And that's something we often forget, because when attraction is built only on image, it disappears the moment the lights fade. But when it's built on presence, purpose, and passion, it becomes unforgettable. The Romans may have vanished, but their secrets of love remain hidden in plain sight, waiting for us to remember them. Now let's go deeper. One of the most remarkable aspects of Roman attraction was their use of environment to set the stage for intimacy. They knew that emotion lives in the senses, so they curated experiences that touched all five. Banquet halls glowed with oil lamps, perfumed gardens rustled with cypress and lavender, and marble baths were scented with exotic oils. These weren't mere luxuries, they were deliberate tools for creating emotional states. Ask yourself this: when was the last time you created an environment that invited intimacy without needing to say a word? The Romans understood something modern couples often overlook, that setting shapes feeling. They didn't rely on chance. They designed their love lives with intention. Whether it was a poetic letter delivered by hand, or a touch that lingered just long enough to awaken interest, every move was measured. But what unfolded next was equally revealing, because Roman attraction wasn't passive. It required attention, to detail, to tone, to timing. The greatest lovers of Rome weren't those who chased or dominated, but those who listened, who noticed the moment someone's breath caught mid-sentence, who could speak volumes through silence. It was subtle, but magnetic. And that brings us to another Roman insight: duality. Roman love was filled with contradictions, soft and strong, playful and serious, spontaneous and strategic. They believed that tension between opposites created the deepest desire. This is why so many Roman love stories burned bright. They didn't just offer comfort, they offered contrast. Have you ever felt drawn to someone because they challenged you in just the right way? That's the Roman idea of polarity. Not conflict, but complement. It's a forgotten art, yet one of the most potent forces in attraction. And here's the intriguing part most people miss. Roman philosophers, especially the Stoics, believed that love and self-mastery were not opposites. They were twins. To love well, you had to know yourself. You had to regulate your impulses, clarify your values, and bring depth to your desires. This gave Roman romance a kind of noble edge. It wasn't just about emotion, but elevation. They weren't afraid of vulnerability, but they pursued it from a place of strength. They didn't chase affection, they invited it through presence. And when intimacy happened, it wasn't a transaction. It was a reflection of inner wholeness. Now imagine what your relationships might look like if you adopted even a fraction of this mindset, if you built tension with intention, if you blended sensuality with self-awareness, if you saw every moment of connection as a chance to express not just desire but dignity, because this is the ultimate Roman lesson. Attraction isn't performance, it's presence. It's showing up fully, confidently, and consistently, with charm, yes, but also with integrity. And in a world full of noise, those who move with quiet elegance, who understand that less is more, that restraint is power, that depth is sexier than flash, those are the people we remember. The Romans lived this, so the next time you find yourself drawn to someone, pause, consider the setting, feel the tension. Say less, mean more. Because the secret to unforgettable attraction isn't in chasing attention. It's in commanding it subtly, with grace. The Romans didn't have dating apps. They had letters, eye contact, intellect, presence, and yet their love stories echo across centuries. What they knew about attraction, we haven't lost. We've simply stopped listening. But now that you've heard it, how will you carry it into your own story?